Hello, my name is Richard Kim. I would like to thank the San Diego Board of Realtors for inviting me to present this educational program. What most real estate agents don't understand about residential appraisals. In this program, I will present 12 key topics that frequently come up in the real-world practice of real estate agents, as well as illustrative examples and practical key takeaways. First, sales price versus market value. There is a difference. Sales price is the actual price paid for a property in a specific transaction. It represents one buyer's desire, emotional and irrational, and financial ability. One buyer's decision to buy a specific house. Sales prices can be very different than market value. For example, in the situation where you have a desperate seller or an infatuated buyer, a buyer who has fallen in love with a house that must buy that house. In contrast, market value is the most probable price in an efficient market, an open and competitive market representing a fair sale with no undue influence. Both buyer and seller are prudent and knowledgeable. View. The valuation and appraisal of views is an important and misunderstood concept. The most important key takeaway is this: the view must be from a main living area. The three main living areas are living room, family room, and dining room. If you have a valuable view in one of these three rooms, it adds value to the property. But if the view is located in a non-MLA area of the house, it adds no appraisal value, no matter how outstanding the view is. The bedroom is not a main living area. Its view adds no value. The kitchen is not a main living area. A bathroom is not a main living area. So bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, anything that's not a living room, family room, or dining room does not add value in an appraisal. So in these pictures here, the picture in the upper right hand corner, it's in a main living area. It's a beautiful view of the mountains. That adds value. However, the bathroom, even though it might have a nice view, is not a main living area. It does not add value from an appraisal perspective. Another key topic is bedroom counts. And an important key takeaway is this: 4 bedrooms are the same as 3 bedrooms. So 4 bedrooms receives no adjustment over 3 bedrooms. Well, that doesn't sound right. There's a reason for this. Because we're trying to avoid double dipping. We don't want to double count the bedroom and the gross living area. The 4-bedroom comp already has an adjustment. The adjustment is already included in the larger gross living area. So if you count for a bedroom and also count for the extra gross living area, you're double counting. We don't want it to double dip. So we group the 3-bedroom and the 4 bedrooms together, and the adjustment shows up in the GLA. So the key takeaways are this: for a 1-bedroom subject property, use 1-bedroom comps. For 2-bedroom subject properties, use 2-bedroom comps. For 3-bedroom comps, use 3 or 4-bedroom comps. Do not use 2-bedroom comps for 3-bedroom subject properties, because the 2-bedroom comp does not compete. It's non-competing to a 3-bedroom subject property. So 4 bedrooms are equivalent to 3 bedrooms when we're looking for comparables. Casita. A casita is a detached building that is not directly attached to the main house. When you're dealing with a casita, the detached building does not count as part of the total gross living area of the main house. This rule comes from the American National Standards Institute, ANSI. For the calculation of square footage, the finished areas connected to the house, finished areas that are connected to the main body of the house by other finished areas such as hallways or stairways are included in the finished square footage of the floor that is at the same level. Finished areas that are not connected to the house in such a manner cannot be included in the finished square footage of any level. So if it's detached, a detached building is not, does not count toward the total GLA of the main house. Let's talk about realtors versus appraisers, specifically the approach of realtors versus appraisers when pulling comps. There is a difference, and it reflects the different perspective and clientele of the realtor versus the appraiser. The realtor serves a seller or buyer, but in the case of pulling comps, we're going to look at the realtor pulling comps for a listing. So the realtor will perform a comparative market analysis. This is not an appraisal. So the realtor will produce a comparative market analysis. The purpose is to decide on a list price, and this is in the context of sales. It is not an appraisal. So the ultimate goal is to look at properties that are comparable, that have sold recently, so that the seller can determine a good list price for their property that will maximize the seller's proceeds, but also move the property in a reasonably quick fashion. Now, if the realtor is representing the buyer, they could do this to see if this is a fair price for the house. In contrast, an appraiser is licensed and certified. Their goal is to be unbiased and independent. They are not advocates, and this is supported by case law. They're not advocates. Okay, their primary goal is to follow standard methodology, to be very transparent, and to be truthful. So they want to be impartial. Their objective is to provide an independent, unbiased valuation of the subject property. Now, when an appraiser chooses comparable properties, comp selection, there's three criteria that allows an appraiser to choose the best comps for their appraisal job. These three criteria are competitive, open, and recent. Competitive refers to competitive property. The comparable property selected must be competitive. A competitive property means that even though it might have sold in the past, that it would be an alternative that a buyer would strongly consider. So a buyer that's interested in the subject property would also be interested in the comparable property, and they must be in the same submarket. So let's say a prospective buyer would be interested in a 3-bedroom house. The subject property is a 3-bedroom house in a certain neighborhood. The comp needs to be a property where the prospective buyer would be like, hey, that's a type of house that I would also be interested in also. So it needs to be competitive. That's what competitive property means. Also, the second criteria is that the comparable went through an open market transaction. It's an arm's length transaction. It was a fair transaction. There wasn't any undue influence. There wasn't any special motivations. For example, in the case of where a buyer and a seller are relatives of each other, that's potentially not an arm's length transaction. And also it needs to be recent in the time of sale to the effective date of the appraisal. So when you look at the effective date of the appraisal and the time of sale, it needs to be recent. More recent is better. The rule is 6 months. Other selection criteria that come up in when an appraiser looks for comparable properties, they look at bedroom count. For example, 1, 2, or 3 or 4 bedrooms. So if the subject property is a 1-bedroom, you're going to look for comps that are also 1 bedrooms. You would not use a 2-bedroom comp on a 1-bedroom comp. So the general category is 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and then 3 and 4 bedrooms are comped together. Also, you want the gross living area to be plus or minus 25%. Plus 25% sets the upper limit, and minus 25% sets the lower limit. And you also want the superior or the upper limit to be over 100 GLA above the subject property, and the inferior property, you want that to be less than or more than 100 square feet smaller than the subject property. So a subject property is considered to be similar to the comp if it's within 100 square feet or 99 square feet, and it is not similar, either superior or inferior, if it is greater than 100 square feet. So 99 square feet or less, the comparable properties considered to be similar with respect to GLA. Foreclosure market guidelines. This comes up. This is a question that comes up in a declining market, and this is a breakdown of the guideline, foreclosure market guidelines from the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, USPAP. If foreclosure properties make up 50% or more of the subject's real estate market, then appraisers should use only foreclosure properties, closed, active, or pending sales, to determine subject's value, even if the subject property is not in foreclosure. So let's say we're in a real estate market where 50% or more of the properties are going through foreclosures or have gone through foreclosures. Then the appraiser should use only the foreclosed properties to determine the subject value, even if the subject property is not in foreclosure. And the reason for this is because in this situation, if 50% or more of the area's homes are in foreclosure, then the foreclosures represent the real estate market. Bracketing is a very important concept. In fact, bracketing is the single most important sales comparison analysis technique. Bracketing is the appraiser's main criteria for selecting comparables. It allows the appraiser to have confidence that the subject property is within the value range. So what bracketing does is it analyzes similar, superior, and inferior comps. So there's three categories of comparables: similar, superior, and inferior. So similar comparables are plus or minus 99 square feet GLA. So that's similar, 99 square feet, similar GLA. Superior comparables set the upper limit of the value range and are 100 square feet or larger based on GLA, and inferior comparables set the lower limit of the value range. Moving on to the scenario where there's a property where there has been some additions with no permit. And the general rule, the key takeaway is this: no permit means no value. So only permitted additions are included in the GLA, gross living area. Non-permitted additions are not included in the GLA. In fact, non-permitted additions, who knows, maybe they were done poorly. Maybe it's done in a way where it's making the house less marketable. So non-permitted additions can actually harm value. And there's this concept called cost to cure. And here's an example. Let's say a seller illegally converts a garage into a living space without a permit. The appraiser would then grid a cost to cure to change the legal addition back to a garage. Now let's talk about sales concessions. And these are situations where the seller will provide a concession to help move a sale along. Sales concession. So the definition of sales concession is this: a sales concession is a seller's credit given to the home buyer that is applied to closing cost. Now, the way this affects appraisals is this: sales concessions tends to elevate sales price. It's considered a non-cash equivalent transaction, but it doesn't fall within the definition of market value. So even though it elevates sales price, it should not impact actual market value. And in fact, the proper way to handle a sales concession from an appraiser standpoint is this: the concession needs to be adjusted down and reported by the appraiser. This is an important concept because it can artificially inflate the sales price. So the appraiser needs to report the sales concession and adjust the market value down. Examples of sales concessions are in a sale or finance transaction, a below market interest rate provided by the seller. Kitchen upgrades, those are sales concessions, as well as free flooring and a free car. Now let's talk about super adequacy, which falls under the concept of over improvement or under improvement. So over improvements and under improvements can cause loss of value, okay? And that is because it violates one of the principles of value, specifically the principle of balance. And over improvement goes against the point of diminishing returns. Point of diminishing returns is where there is an equilibrium in imbalance. And so over improvement and under improvement represents a disequilibrium and also provides diminishing or poor contributory value. An important concept is for a given neighborhood, there is a maximum ceiling price for the neighborhood. And this goes into the concept of super adequacy. For example, let's say you have a mansion, the only mansion in a modest neighborhood. It doesn't fit. In fact, it makes the property less marketable. So how are appraisals pulled under the scenario of super adequacy? What the appraiser has to do is this: they have to look for properties that are similarly over improved. So similarly super adequate, similarly over improved within the immediate tract or pocket neighborhood, and then calculate a market derived adjustment. Also, the appraiser must report the typical range of over improvements and report the difference between the range of over improvements and the subject price that was over improved. So it's an actual adjustment that the appraiser has to calculate and report. Functional utility. Functional utility refers to the usefulness or habitability of the architectural layout. A good floor plan configuration adds value and marketability. On the flip side, dysfunctional layouts damage property value. So here's some pictures of poor functional utility. You got stairs that appear to be in an odd location that look actually kind of dangerous to climb up. The middle picture has a pole, probably a telephone pole or a power pole, that is right in the middle of a driveway. So a car would have to drive out of their way to get onto the main street. And then the bottom picture has a bathtub in the dining room or right next to the dining room. It's a baffling configuration. So there are actually, the California Department of Real Estate has a functional utility checklist available in their reference book. And examples from the California Department of Real Estate checklist include adequate floor space for furniture, bedrooms are private, kitchen has ample and efficient workspace. So if you go to the reference book, they actually have a whole list of specific things that an appraiser has to look for when determining functional utility. Functional utility is an element of comparison. It is a comparison line item. It is included in all appraisal reports, and the California Department of Real Estate has a checklist that's available. So the 12th topic, external obsolescence. External obsolescence. It is a decrease in value, depreciation, caused by external factors outside of the property. So factors outside of the actual property which hurt the value of the subject property, depreciation. And there's two main categories, economic and locational. An example of economic external obsolescence would be a Fortune 500 company that relocates to another state. So let's say that there is a company that is the major employer for a small town, and that company decides to shut down its office and move to another state. That would have That's an external factor that would have a negative effect on home values. Another one is locational. Let's say a landfill has been, the city has approved a landfill to be started, to be created and formed in the neighborhood of the subject property. That's a locational external obsolescence factor. Key takeaways. External effects can have an impact on property values. And these external obsolescence factors are usually incurable and outside of our control. So it's important for appraisers to be aware of external events and to make adjustments in the appraisals. References. So these 12 key topics of appraisal were provided primarily by educational course materials from San Diego Mesa College course, Principles of Real Estate Appraisal, Real 110. Professor is Kaylee Stidell. The book for the course is Real Estate Appraisal, 8th edition by Joseph Schramm. Also, the American National Standards Institute, ANSI, was consulted. The Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice was consulted, and the California Department of Real Estate, DRE, reference book, A Real Estate Guide, and the web links are provided for you here.